welcome to the Grueling Truths NFL Monday Night Review Show. I am your co-host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in Anthony Cervino from the FF Faceoff. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing great, Mike. How are you?
All right. I want to remind everybody, betnow.eu, which I know that Anthony had a little success with this past weekend. You could go there, or actually last Thursday night, you can go there and get a 100% cashback bonus up until September the 16th by using the promo code TRUTH100. You can also go through the gruelingtruth.com banner at the top of our page for Bet Now. Just make sure you use the promo code TRUTH100. Anthony, usually we're only going to have one game to talk about on Tuesdays. We got two games today to talk about, and both were really good football games.
Yeah, they both were really great.
And I think, you know, I wrote an article a couple years ago about the top 10 Monday Night Football games of all time. And I think the Saints-Texans game, you know, may be able to make that list. It was a great football game. And the thing that I really took away from this wasn't even Drew Brees. It was Deshaun Watson. I mean, he was bruised, battered all night by a ferocious Saints defensive front. They had to take him under the medical tent twice. And the dude is a tough-ass quarterback. He led 5 fourth quarterbacks or comebacks last year. Almost pulled it off again last night, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited about that game. There was a slow start to it, but both quarterbacks played really well.
You there?
Okay. Yes. No, I broke up there for a second. And on the Houston side, that offensive line is not improved.
No. I mean,
they sacked Deshaun Watson 6 times.
Yes, they did. They sacked him. They dominated him, and Deshaun Watson just kept coming at him. But the big question there is, with offensive line play, and we talked about it yesterday, is can you keep Deshaun Watson healthy all year behind that? Because he could be the toughest guy in the world, but you can only take so much.
Yeah, and when he initially ran that touchdown and he got up kind of slow, he could be already banged up after 1 week.
Yeah, I think he probably is already banged up after 1 week just from getting hit so much on the other side. And I think I brought this up yesterday. I didn't think the game would be that close because I didn't take Deshaun Watson's toughness enough into account. But this was the first game that J.J. Watt was shut out. Ryan Ramczyk from Wisconsin, outside of one holding call, pretty much dominated Watt.
Yeah, they did. And, you know, because Watt's not a young guy. He has 2 MVPs, but he also has multiple back injuries. He could be dealing with another back injury that's flaring up. We don't know.
Yeah,
but he did not look like the J.J. Watt that we're used to seeing, and maybe that has to do with Jadeveon Clowney being gone.
Yeah, but they didn't have Jadeveon Clowney the last couple of years, and he was always dominant. So I think the question here is J.J. Watt on the wrong side of the hill now?
Well, that's what I was saying. Maybe he's starting to take a step back. I always felt like J.J. Watt, not off the field, not personality, but he was almost a defensive version of Rob Gronkowski because they're so dominant, but dealing with multiple injuries and multiple injuries at a time.
Yeah, and the other thing I took away from this game is, does the NFL have it out for the Saints? Because the end of the first half thing, I don't know how you can review that and still screw it up. And the Saints were trailing 14-3. Brees drives the Saints near midfield with a third down pass to Michael Thomas that originally was ruled a half yard shy of a first down with 41 seconds remaining in the second quarter. And with Thomas ruled in bounds, the Saints rushed to the line. They got the play off, got the first down, but the NFL or the officials blew it dead to review the play. And they did a 10-second runoff. And the time on this, the play ended at 41 seconds. So a 10-second runoff, they should have had around 30 seconds left. And I think that it's unconscionable that the NFL screws this up again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the league has it out for the Saints, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it's not so much that I think they have it out for the Saints. I think it's just, kind of bad karma for the NFL that this happens to the Saints on the first game where half the Saints fans are wearing ref jerseys mockingly. It looked to me like there was a big Foot Locker convention down there and all the heads of each Foot Locker were there.
Wait. What is that?
Come on, you've never been to a
confused.
Foot Locker, Anthony? At Foot Locker,
Oh, you're talking
everybody
about,
wears the
okay.
rough shirt. Come
Okay,
on, I was making
yeah,
a joke. You got to catch up.
Okay.
All right. But, yeah, so the sad thing to me is no matter how many replays you have, it looks like the NFL can screw up the games anyways, with or without help.
Yeah, but this was a good game. The Saints ended up pulling it out anyway.
Yeah, and when we look at the Saints and Texas game, Deshaun Watson, 20
And
for
for
30.
the record, the Saints could have put that playoff game away. They had opportunities.
They could have, but the game was put away if the call's not blown. Probably, as long as they don't blow the field goal. The thing I took away from the Texans is even without Lamar Miller, they're going to be all right. The tandem of Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson ran for over 130 yards between the two of them. DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, even with the bad offensive line, I think the Texans are a player in the AFC South, especially with the issues that the Colts have had and the Jaguars now have with Nick Foles being out.
Well, yeah, I agree there. I think the line is going to give them some fits because, again, 6 sacks. They did run the ball well without Lamar Miller. Carlos Hyde's a very capable early down back, and Duke Johnson's one of the most efficient pass-catching specialists in the league. It's nice to see the Texans actually, throwing the ball to the back because they don't really do that a lot. And I think the biggest factor that nobody's talking about is Kenny Stills. He scored in a revenge game last night. Kenny Stills is a very good receiver, was stuck on a bad team with the Miami Dolphins, but I think Kenny Stills is the player that's going to be the biggest difference maker this season.
Yeah, and then we go to the Saints.
Not named Deshaun Watson or DeAndre Hopkins.
I know what you mean. Yeah, the guy that kind of flies under the radar that people don't really realize is there until he beats your team. When we look at the Saints, as always, Drew Brees, 32 for 43, 370 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Alvin Kamara, 13 carries, 97 yards. Latavius Murray had 43 yards, which I think is huge. He kind of takes over the role of the second back in that offense. And then Michael Thomas, Ted Ginn, Kamara, 72 yards out of the backfield. This is a really dangerous offense. And defensively, 6 sacks. I mean, I think against a normal NFL quarterback, the Saints defense would be fine. But I think when you go up against what they were going up against, which is Deshaun Watson, I think you've got a whole nother beast there. So I think the Saints team's definitely a team that can make a run at the Super Bowl. Did I lose you, Anthony?
I'm not completely sold on the Saints.
Why is that?
I think they're going to struggle a little bit as the season goes on. Let's see if Drew Brees can hold up. Jared Cook, who was supposed to really make a difference in this offense, only had 3 targets. Ted Ginn had 7. If you have a good team, let's take Bill Belichick. Let's take the Patriots. If the Saints made it to the Super Bowl against the Patriots, Bill Belichick's going to take out Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, and they're done.
Yeah,
they need more balance on offense. I think the loss of Unger, his retirement, is going to make a big difference, especially when you play a team like the Rams again next week, and we'll probably see that with Aaron Donald. And on a defensive side of the ball, the Saints have a bottom 5 secondary.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but my other take is this. What team is Bill Belichick not going to take 2 or 3 guys away? That's why they win all the damn time. I mean, how many teams have more weapons than the Saints offensively? With a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, you're talking about the Saints that they ran into the Patriots, but I think any team in the NFC that runs into the Patriots is going to have issues because
maybe not the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, come on. Here we go with this Cowboy crap again.
Maybe not the Dallas Cowboys.
Why is that? Because you don't think they can take away Amari Cooper?
And then you have Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Gallup. I mean, let's not have this conversation.
Let's have it because it's fun.
Troy Aikman, before the game on Sunday, compared this roster to some of the rosters he's played on.
Yeah.
That happened.
You know what? Sparky Anderson at one point
And
said
Troy is
Lance
very hard
Parrish
on
was
the
going to be
Dallas
Johnny
Cowboys.
Bench.
Troy is very hard on the Cowboys, so that's big praise from the Hall of Fame
All right.
Super Bowl winning
Well, I
quarterback.
want to stop the Cowboy talk of beating the Patriots just with one simple thing. Jason Garrett will be coaching against Bill Belichick. Dak Prescott, who I love, is the quarterback against Tom Brady. So there are multiple issues there. And I don't know that the Cowboys can get pressure without blitzing against Brady. I don't know this year if the Patriots line stays intact, if anybody can, though. So there's more issues than just what you can take away, I think, when you look at that matchup. But that's a long way away. Let's go ahead and look at the Oakland Raiders, who actually played a football game last night that was about football and not Antonio Brown. And I kind of got sick about hearing about Antonio Brown, Anthony, just because the fact that Antonio Brown never even practiced with the Raiders. I thought the Raiders looked pretty damn good last night.
They did, and I think I said it on yesterday's show that the Raiders were either going to rally or they were going to fold, and I think this team is taking it personal. I think this team feels like Antonio Brown kind of pulled the wool over their head, and they want to go win some games.
Yeah, but then again, I think the Broncos are kind of rough. Joe Flacco, 21 for 31, 268 yards, 1 touchdown. Royce Freeman, the former running back out of Oregon, 10 for 56. But when I look at the Raiders, Derek Carr was on point last night, 22 for 26, 259 yards and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs, 23 carries for 85 yards. Not an outstanding day, but when you throw in 2 touchdowns, you fantasy guys will tell you that's a pretty damn good game. And Darren Waller at tight end and Tyrell Williams at wide receiver both looked really good.
You know, my question is, where the hell is this Denver defense and the genius of Vic Fangio? They didn't pressure. I don't even know if they touched Derek Carr's jersey. I don't know if Derek Carr has a piece of dirt on his jersey because he wasn't sacked. He had a clean pocket all night, and he picked the Denver Broncos apart. When you have a pass rush like Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, that's embarrassing. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
And, Josh Jacobs ran the ball down their throat. That Denver defense, if it's regressing with a defensive-minded head coach, it's going to be a long year in Denver.
Well, how about this? I don't think maybe the problem's the defensive-minded head coach. Maybe it's the problem where you got a coach that's 60 years old. It's the first time he's ever been a head coach, and he looked like a fish out of water during the game last night. To me. I mean, the way I took it is he looked real uncomfortable being the head coach.
Well, that's not a good sign. You're the coach. You would know more than me.
Yeah, I mean, he looked to me. I mean, they even made the comment during the game that he didn't even know where to stand on the sideline in the first preseason game because he's so used to being up in the booth.
I mean, then at what point do you have to? Yeah, I think this is all on John Elway then.
Well, I think this.
If Vic Fangio doesn't work out, John Elway's got to go after the season.
Well, John Elway screwed a lot of things up, and John Elway has a problem with the sauce. So, and I know that because I've seen that in person when he came to Cincinnati last year. And that was like during the day where we were eating, and he showed up, and he was already red-faced. I'm just going to leave it at that. The guy that stands out to me here, and you can make a little comment about his fantasy impact, is Josh Jacobs, because I think he is going to be a really special running back.
Yeah, I was shocked that Josh Jacobs had that significant of a game. I wasn't buying the Raiders whatsoever. I don't know if it's the Raiders or it's a bad Denver team. I think the jury's still out.
Yeah, and I also think this. Week 1 of the NFL means absolutely nothing. Actually, probably the first 3 weeks don't. Because as a coach, your first few weeks, you're just trying to figure out what you got to fix, if you know what I mean. And look at how many times we've watched the Patriots get bludgeoned by somebody before week 5, and then everybody's saying, well, the Patriots dynasty is dead. But then the next thing you know, it's not dead. So I think people overreact big time to everything they see in week 1.
I mean, look at the Falcons. The Falcons are serial, perennial, slow starters every year in the first 2 weeks. And you could even throw Russell Wilson in the conversation. Yeah. They're slow starters, and then after a month, they're in their groove, and they're off to a playoff run.
Yeah, so I think people read way too much into this, and I think almost every year there's a team that's below 500, 6, 7 games into the season, it ends up making the playoffs, and I just think fans have a tendency to overreact. We overreact. We overreact on the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, they have issues, but until we see that second game against the Jets, which if they go into, oh, all hell breaks loose. But at least OBJ has a really nice watch. Now, why the hell would you be wearing a watch on a football field, Anthony?
That's mind blowing. You want to know why? Again, Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens. He is letting the what do you call? And this is probably politically incorrect.
Oh, don't say it then, because I've already said it once to somebody, and they said, "Ooh, don't say it that way."
What, the inmates running the asylum?
I just told you not to say it that way. But go ahead. I know what you mean, and I back you up completely, because it is, you know? Or it's like letting the kindergartners eat paste whenever they want.
Right.
Just because you don't want to have to deal with them if you tell them no.
But that's a sign that Freddie Kitchens does not have control of this locker room. And when you have all of these dynamic personalities and sometimes erratic personalities, look at Mike Tomlin and look at the Steelers.
Yeah.
Look how bad that went when his players were really doing what the hell they wanted to do.
Yeah, and they still do, which is, I mean, that was the Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. With those guys, especially Antonio Brown, I'm not going to give Le'Veon Bell as much crap because it looks like he's kind of trying to do what he's supposed to do with the Jets. But Antonio Brown didn't all of a sudden just become the way he is. And I think that's the problem with a lot of teams and a lot of coaches where they will not sit on a player that's doing the wrong thing. And this goes back probably to when Antonio Brown was playing Pop Warner football. He was the best player there. Everybody let him do what he wanted. When he threw a fit, you just calm him down and get him back in the game so he can score touchdowns so you can win. And in the end, this is the kind of player you get when you do stuff like that.
I mean, doesn't it start with Ben Roethlisberger because he ran his mouth maybe up until this offseason, his whole career. And when your quarterback's doing it and not being a leader and your coach is letting it happen, this is Baker Mayfield and this is Freddie Kitchens. You have the high-profile receiver.
Yeah, and when you look at it, Ben Roethlisberger didn't start running his mouth till after he won the second Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he was still making mistakes, motorcycle accidents, sexual allegations.
Well, yeah, because he's an idiot. I mean, that goes with being a Pittsburgh Steeler. There, I said it. I don't like the Steelers. And I was glad to watch the Steelers get humiliated 33-3 also. So.
But, you have to control Odell Beckham Jr. And, you're letting the antics start already, and we're in one game.
Yeah, but can you really stop him now? And I think this is what we're going to find out with him going to Bill Belichick. Because when I look at this, is it too late to get this guy to not act like an asshole?
Yes.
So you think
Absolutely.
It's too late to keep him from being an asshole? Yeah, so this is the thing. Is Bill Belichick really going to fix him, or is Bill Belichick just going to try to figure out a way to allow him to act like an asshole but keep him on the field to win?
Well, I think Bill Belichick, and I know they gave him an option that ties him to the team for another season, but I think this is a one-year rental.
Yeah,
like I think this is a Band-Aid for Gronkowski's loss.
Yeah, like Randy Moss.
And I think Antonio Brown, he might be on good behavior just to get that ring. And when Antonio Brown leaves the Patriots will get a compensatory pick. Either way, they win.
Well, they always do. They're the Patriots. So, for what it's worth, I don't think. Do you think Antonio Brown makes it through this season with the Patriots? You there, Anthony?
Yeah, he wants a ring, and he knows the way to get the ring is through the New England Patriots. So I think Antonio Brown can keep his mouth shut, be on good behavior for at least this season with the Patriots. Now, there's a part of me that thinks he's going to blow up. So I'm very torn on what we're going to see from Antonio Brown. But would it surprise me if he kept his mouth shut and kept in good behavior until a Super Bowl run? No, would not surprise me one bit.
Actually, it would surprise me if he makes it through the whole year. I think there's issues with him more than just his attitude. I think there's something wrong with him. I really do.
Yeah, what, like a mental illness? Yeah, I'm not ruling that out. I'm not ruling that out.
You have to be
maybe
mentally
he's
ill
just
to give up $40
spoiled.
million.
Maybe he's just spoiled.
Which can be a mental illness. Because once you've been spoiled your whole life, it's hard to all of a sudden change.
But Antonio Brown's going to learn on the Patriots that he is not indispensable.
Yeah. So, are you telling me because of that, if he doesn't make it, this is going to be a quick divorce instead of maybe week 12 shit just falls apart?
I think potentially this could be a quick divorce if he's going to continue to post on social media.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think that he will do that. I wouldn't think. If he does,
can you imagine if Antonio Brown went on Facebook Live during a Belichick meeting?
Yeah, but Antonio
I don't know
Brown,
if he'd make it out of the building.
Antonio Brown only went live like during the AFC Championship game that one year, didn't he?
That's what I'm talking about.
I know. That's kind of my point. I mean, it's the AFC Championship game. They're getting beat by the Patriots, and he's on it.
And let me clear something up. You brought up Le'Veon Bell before. My issue with Le'Veon Bell was during that game or before the game against the Jaguars in the postseason a few years ago. He was already thinking about – he was telling the media, I want a new contract or I'm going to hold out. I thought he should have been focused on Jacksonville. Otherwise, I don't have a big problem. Like, I don't think Le'Veon Bell was a cancer in the same way Antonio Brown was. Le'Veon Bell wanted to get paid. He wasn't really disrupting the team. My only issue with Bell was not your head should have been with Jacksonville, not on holding out.
Do you think it's possible that Le'Veon Bell was the least of the three problems in Pittsburgh and just was
100%,
crap and
100%.
wanted to get out of there?
I think 100% Le'Veon Bell was the least of their problems.
So do you think maybe Le'Veon Bell just wanted to get the hell away from there?
Well, that or he wanted to get paid.
Yeah. Yeah, if you got to put up with the crap, you want to get paid. So, and Antonio Brown says that going to the Patriots was God's plan. So it wasn't Bill Belichick's.
Maybe he thinks Bill Belichick is God. Who knows? He had a hot air balloon to show up to training camp.
Oh,
anything's possible with Antonio Brown.
I know. Right there, they should have just shot it down. But the NFL looks like they may be investigating this too. And the NFL, nobody investigates things like the NFL. But what the hell? You got any more news you want to talk about? I'm sure you probably want to talk about your Dallas Cowboys since they're undefeated, right?
There are 16 teams undefeated right now.
Mine's not one of them. So I would love to be one of those 16 teams that were undefeated.
Well,
and we could get a better game than the Bucs and Panthers on Thursday night, I would think. I don't know who to schedule that out ahead of time.
Well, it's early. It's week 2, but this is a must-win game for the Panthers.
Well, it is for the Bucs too.
Well, but nobody's really counting on the Bucs to do much.
I know. I wouldn't count on the Panthers to do a whole hell of a lot either, though, because they got Cam Newton.
What do you think about the Steelers? I know we talked about this game yesterday. Juju Smith-Schuster got a little bit banged up. He's expected to play this week. What do you think the Steelers have big problems, or is this they just ran into a buzzsaw named the Patriots?
I think it's both. I think they have problems. I still think the secondary is not very good, and it hasn't been for a while. I mean, ever since, the Artie Burns thing kind of killed it right there. And when I look at this, the Steelers are like a 4-point favorite against the Seahawks. I don't know. I mean, the Seahawks are not an easy out for anybody, especially with Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson is going to get better as it goes. I'm not a big fan of Mike Tomlin. I mean, let's look at it like this. He's down, 20 points, and he elects to kick a field goal on 4th and goal at the 1. Why would anybody in their right mind kick a field goal against the Patriots down by 20 points, Anthony?
I know, especially Tomlin, who has a history of making dumb play calling decisions and going for it or not kicking an extra point.
And that was a dumb play calling decision because you're not going to kick field goals and beat the New England Patriots no matter who you are. And at 4th and goal at the 1, they still had a chance in that game if they hit the touchdown there. I think it would have made it 20-7, but I'm not 100% sure what the score was at that point. But you're basically conceding, hey, I just don't want to end up with a 0. I want a crooked number on the board when the game ends. And Big Ben, he's fat. Doesn't run the way he did. Not going to be a. And what about the trading Josh Dobbs to Jacksonville?
What about it?
I mean, I think Josh Dobbs could have been.
It was
a
depth move for the Jaguars.
Yeah, it's a desperate move for the Jaguars.
But a depth.
Oh, yeah, but I think this. Who's the other Steeler quarterback here?
No idea, actually.
Oh, hell,
I'll look it up.
Because didn't they get rid of Landry Jones, or is Landry Jones still banging?
Rudolph.
Mason
Rudolph.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph.
So, I don't know. I think Josh Dobbs could be a really good quarterback. I liked him in college. Now, I'm not saying I think he's definitely going to be the guy. But when you look at him, the Steelers still have a good offensive line. James Conner, to me, is just an average NFL running back, though. It's not like you got Le'Veon Bell. Juju Smith-Schuster, or whatever the hell his name is, the guy to me is a number 2 guy. I don't think you have near the firepower on offense that you did. And if you don't, your defense has got to be better. And I just don't know if the defensive secondary is good enough. I think they're in trouble. And I think that the AFC North, as crazy as it may sound, is going to come down to the Ravens or the Bengals.
Well, I'm not too shocked about that. You know, I've been high on the Bengals.
You'd have to be high to be on the Bengals. Little play on words.
A little bit more news from around the league. If you want to talk about news, Sterling Shepard is probably going to be slated as doubtful. He's in the concussion protocol. What the hell are Giants going to do at receiver with no Golden Tate, no Sterling Shepard likely? I mean, the writing is on the wall for Eli Manning.
Yeah, he's going to be out of there through no fault of his own because they're going to start off slow. And the thing is this, from watching what little I did, because that's the game I watched in between commercials on the Bengals-Seahawks game, I don't think the Giants are a team that are bereft of talent. I mean, they've got some players there if they just had them healthy. But the other problem is this. I mean, you had right guard Kevin Zeitler who came out of the game with what Shermer described as a little shoulder deal that we're getting more information on. Zeitler would be a huge loss, too, for a team that seems to be slowly improving the offensive line. So you take Zeitler away, you take Sterling Shepard away, you got huge issues in New York right now.
And, you know, for anybody listening, and if you're a fantasy football player, I said this all offseason, I was worried about Saquon Barkley because the Giants were expected to have a bad offense. And look at David Johnson, who was a top 5 pick last year in that Cardinals offense. He just didn't produce up to his draft stock. And that's kind of how I feel about Saquon Barkley. As outstanding as he is, he could be a risky fantasy play.
Oh, I think he has to be a risky, especially if there's no Zeitler, no Shepard, because the one thing is they're probably going to get the ball in his hands more often, but nobody's going to be surprised by it. And this week they play the Buffalo Bills. They host the Bills. The Bills are a tough defensive team, Anthony.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a long day for the Giants again.
And the one thing I do need to find out is what's the point spread on the Patriots and the Dolphins?
Did you hear the rumors? And the Dolphins head coach Flores shot it down that his players want out. His players are asking for trades. He's saying no, it's not happening. But there's rumors floating around that I guess significant Dolphins players, whatever the hell they have left,
They have
Drake,
Minka Fitzpatrick's the only guy I can think of, and Xavier
Kenyon
Howard.
Drake.
Yeah, Kenyon Drake. They've got 3 significant players. So
Darius Geis going to miss more time. He injured not the ACL knee from last year, but he injured the other knee. With he's going to miss a few weeks with a meniscus tear.
So is Adrian Peterson still out?
No, I mean Adrian Peterson was a healthy scratch.
Okay.
And that probably rubbed him the wrong way. All of a sudden, Adrian Peterson's going to be the starting running back again.
So he's either going to be pissed off, pout, and not do anything, or he's going to go blow stuff up to show everybody how stupid they were for sitting him. Which way do you go? Would you sit him or start him?
Who do the Redskins have this week?
Oh, the Redskins have, luckily I already had this up, they got the Cowboys.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think you can put Adrian Peterson out there because he always seems to show up against Dallas, had a couple of nice games last year. But I wouldn't expect, 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns. I think he can get you maybe 100 total yards. And if you need to start him, start him. But It's going to be tough. I mean, Case Keenum is at least an upgrade over what they had last year at quarterback. Case Keenum had a hell of a game against Philadelphia, but I think the Cowboys' defense is better than the Eagles, so we'll see.
Cowboys' defense is better than the Eagles, huh?
You don't think so? What about that secondary?
There's only been one game played. So with that, I tend to just sit and wait. Give me game 4. It's just like betting NFL games. I usually don't bet too many NFL games till week 4, so you know what the hell's going on.
I had good odds. I parlayed the under in the Saints game with the Texans getting a 6.5.
All right, so you won them both then, didn't you? What was the over-under on that?
52.5, 50.5, something like that.
Well, they went over then, didn't they?
I got to double check. I know I hit that parlay. I thought I had the under.
So let's take a quick look at the point spreads on Bet Now for this week. We'll run through the games real quick now. Of course, Friday we'll get more in depth. Thursday we'll get more in depth on the Bucks and Panthers. The Bucks and Panthers right now. Tell me, is this line right, or would you change it? The Bucks are 7-point underdogs at Carolina.
7's a lot, but the Buccaneers are bad. Jameis Winston didn't have his best game. Jameis Winston, even with Bruce Arians, still looks like Jameis Winston giving the ball away. I think it can go down to 6.5.
All right, next up, the Colts at the Titans. The Titans are 3-point favorites.
Colts Titan. I think that's about right. It's a division matchup. Jacoby Brissett didn't look terrible. The Colts did lose Devin Funchess. He's on injured reserve, but the rest of their pieces are there. I think it'll be a close game. 3's about right.
Chargers at Lions. What do you think the spread should be?
What do I think the spread? Chargers at Lions. I would say Chargers giving 3.
You got it. Next up, Bills at Giants.
Shoot. Bills at Giants. Wow. No Sterling Shepard, no receivers, that defense. I think the Bills giving 1.5. Or a pick 'em. This could be a pick 'em.
Bills are giving 2, which may be a game I jump on.
I'm pretty close. Yeah, I'm not bad.
Next up, Cardinals at Ravens.
Cardinals at Ravens. Wow. Ravens, I would say 7.
Ravens by 13.5.
Wow.
Here you go. New England at Miami.
New England at Miami, I would say. If that Ravens game's 13.5, this one has to be at least, I would say 14.
20.
Is that a record
I don't think so. I thought it would
for
actually
an
be
NFL
higher.
game?
Because to tell you the truth, I would almost just
No,
mindlessly.
this is an NFL.
I would
that
mindlessly.
is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
but this is not an NFL game. This is half of an NFL game. The Miami part doesn't qualify.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, I think that New England will cover that easily.
20.
Yeah. Dallas.
The money line's 3,000.
On this one, it's 2,500.
Okay.
Actually, betting the Dolphins will get you like 15-1 odds. But who the hell would do that? That would be a bigger upset than Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson. I don't think those odds are big enough. Next up, your Cowboys at the Redskins. And don't be cheating and looking at lines now.
Cowboys at the Redskins. See, I'm not going to look. I don't cheat. Cowboys at the Redskins. Cowboys 3.5.
5.5. Next up, Jaguars at the Texans.
Phew. Texans giving 3.
9. Seattle at
See, I think that's
Pittsburgh.
going to be a close game.
I think it will too. Maybe. I don't know. They are missing.
That Minshew didn't look bad at quarterback. Completed, 75, 80% of his passes.
There's a huge difference between being thrown in when you don't expect to and being the guy all week. Plus, they now have film on the way he plays and the way they call plays when he's in the game.
Yeah, but 9 times out of 10, a backup quarterback comes in and looks like a train wreck.
No, I think you'll find a lot more backups that look good coming in the middle of the game than you do first-time starters look good. But, all right, Seattle at Pittsburgh.
I think Pittsburgh's going to be favored by 4 at home.
You got it. San Francisco at Cincinnati.
San Francisco at Cincinnati. San Francisco favored, giving 3.
Bengals are favored by 2.
Good.
It'll make the show, the NFL Pick'em show at 10 o'clock tonight, more exciting too, because me and Matt will be on together, and of course he's a 49ers fan. And they are the Devils team, them and the Steelers. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers.
Packers giving 3.
Yep. I think the Vikings are going to win that game straight up, but we'll get to that tonight. Next up,
Really?
the Kansas City Chiefs at the Oakland Raiders.
Chiefs by 10.
Chiefs by 8. That's an interesting one to me because I think the Raiders could run the ball on the Chiefs and control the game a little bit. And Derek Carr's a good quarterback, but the Chiefs are scoring 30 no matter what, so that's the problem there. The Saints at the Rams.
Saints at the Rams. We're going to go Rams by 2.
Rams by 3. Bears at Broncos. This could be a 6-3 game.
It's Denver's home. Denver giving 1.
2. Actually, Denver's getting 2. Bears are favored by 2. Eagles at Falcons.
At Falcons, I'm going to go Falcons giving 3 points to the Eagles.
Actually, Eagles are 2-point favorites. And
see, that's going to be a trap game.
Well, how about this? The Cleveland Browns at the New York Jets.
Jets favored by 3.5.
Browns are favored by 3. I think that's
Was a tight. I think it's a trap. I think the Jets are out for revenge because Baker had his coming out party against them last year. And that was without C.J. Mosley,
Yeah,
who was all over the field on Sunday.
Is Mosley going to be healthy to play this week, though? Because I know he had to leave the game in the second half this last week. Because I think that was the difference in the game, because Mosley went out late third quarter to 3 drives after Mosley, 3 touchdowns, or 2 touchdowns and a field goal, whatever it was, to get the win.
You think the Jets can do it?
I think the Jets are going to win the game straight up. And I'll tell you this, I think the Saints are going to beat the Rams. I'm not in love with Jared Goff and Sean McVay like everybody else is. And I think the Saints, after last year, you got a little revenge there, too. Because if you think the Browns-Jets is a revenge game, what's the Saints and Rams?
Yeah, you got a point there.
Yeah, so. All right, Anthony. We got anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I think that about does it.
All right. We will be back, tomorrow or Thursday? You want to do this every day or what, Anthony?
If there's let's see how it goes. Let's see what kind of news comes out in the next 24 hours.
But we'll definitely plan on being here Thursday to preview the
Yeah, Thursday
Panthers.
definitely.
Yeah, and we could do tomorrow. I can find us a guest or something if we have to. But just keep updated. Follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. Make sure you check out Anthony's FF Face Off. Have you guys done a show yet this week?
No, we are doing one today, actually.
Okay, so you can look for that where, Anthony?
You can find me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. You can follow the show at the FF Face Off. We're also live streaming on YouTube and anywhere you can get your podcast.
All right, and the same thing with the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Tonight at 10 o'clock, we'll have the NFL Weekly Pick'em Show with myself, Anthony Cervino, Brian Schmidt, Matt Anderscavage will be on to pick the games. I think I probably came in last picking him against the point spread. So make sure you check out the Bet Now Presents, the NFL Pick'em Show tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern on thegruelingtruth.com or on Spreaker. If you have any questions or want to make any comments during the show, you can go to @GruelingTruth on Twitter to do that there. And make sure with BetNow.eu, you've got 6 days left where you can get a 100% cash back bonus on your first deposit up to $500. Use the promo code TGT100. So you can hear all of the Grueling Truth shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. You'll find the Grueling Truth. So for the real NFL guru, Anthony Cervino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.